Okay, today is the day we're going to finally do the paper beads video. Now you might say, why are we doing a paper beads video? I learned to do that when I went to camp when I was a kid. Well, it's still the same concept, but it's what you can do with a paper bead and the varieties of paper that you might use. And also this really cool paper glaze called Vibrance by my friend Janice May. What it can do to your paper when you have it rolled, when you have the beads rolled already, is really awesome. And we are carrying this on our website at bcboutiques.com now, along with the kit that you can get started with some little implements and tools. And I found a few little tricks from playing with paper beads the last few days that I thought I'd share with you. But really all this is going to be is just kind of an overview of the technique and how you do it and how this stuff works. And then after that, I think maybe in the weeks to come we may embroider on it, maybe via the blog. Maybe we'll do another video. I want to try ice resin on this stuff eventually. Today we're just going to do this, but I think I'm just seeing so many possibilities with this stuff. And that's the way it was whenever I first met Janice May at CHA in January. When I first saw what she had, it was just strings on strings of these wonderful, very uniformly made paper beads. Ladies in the Philippines make them, and when they sell these, a portion of the profit goes to help school children get school supplies, which is really a nice thing. And the ladies do such a beautiful job, they're so uniform. But I got to thinking about the possibilities. She had some things made up with brass findings there, and they looked so awesome. And then I got to think about, well, what if we used other papers, or vintage papers, or poster board, or fabric, or felt, or whatever. You know, it's just the principle could go on and on. So, let me stop yakking at you, and let me have you come over here to the workbench so I can show you the basic things that I've learned about making paper beads and how you can take it to the next level. Okay, so as you see, I am rolling a paper bead. I'm using Tim Holtz Glazing paper. I think it's kind of a new thing for Tim. But as I get to the end of this little strip here, that's where I got to get my glue on. So I'm going to just show you that, but then I'm going to do one start to finish. This Glazing paper is kind of cool. Really cool vintage look. But this all type thing is an implement that comes with the kit from Janice May. Okay, here's a finished rolled bead. Now you can see, you know, my end is not perfect. I don't tend to do perfect with these. And you know what? That's okay. You don't have to be perfect. Who says you gotta be perfect? You know, we're looking for kind of an altered look, but as you can see, I take it between my fingers, I can kind of adjust it a little bit, you know, there. So, and then a cool thing to do, and I did in fact do earlier, I'm probably getting ahead of myself a little bit, is I took and I did a Glazing bead with the smooch inks and made it look all golden. Just painted a little bit on there. Now what happens when you do, when you get something uneven like this, you just snip it off. So, you know, this is no big deal. But anyway, and then actually I didn't use the Vibrance on this. I used, I wanted to try, see what happened, and I used matte spray lacquer. Anyway, that's a cool bead, and that is sealed. And you do have to seal your paper beads. Now, excuse me, I kind of like the look of the raw bead. Now this one's coming out, so I have to put some more. I kind of like this raw bead here, you know, with no stuff on it. But the thing is, you know, when you wear jewelry, it gets into stuff, and you'd hate to have a string of beautiful beads and be out in the rain and get wet, and, you know, I don't know, depending on the paper you use, might not fare too well. So you do need to seal them, but we'll get to that later. So I'm going to do, excuse me, a bead start to finish. Now here is some text paper, and you have to cut it in a shape kind of like this. Now Janice May told me that you need to cut about a ½ an inch over and then come down. And she had a little template. I don't have a template except for the strips I purchased from her. But I liked mine a little wider, and actually the length of your bead is going to be however wide you start at the top. And you're readily going to see that when I get started. Okay, so I want my bead to be this text here, okay? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this awl implement that comes with your kit, and I'm going to curl that paper. And this is nice sturdy 7 Gypsies paper. It's this stuff. Little paper pack, which we're probably going to have on the site pretty soon. But anyway, that's what I'm using. Now, I like to do both ends because it gets me a real good curve. So I just take it between my thumb and my forefinger and I roll it. Okay, now I'm going to start from this end. And there are actually 2 implements with the kit, but you want to get this real tight. I kind of like the awl best. And just wrap it tightly and as evenly as you can. And like I say, you know, I just showed you, you can adjust it. Now when you get about 2/3 to 3/4 of the way down, like right about here, I'm going to stop. And I've got my glue stick, my acid-free glue stick. And as you can see, I'm working on an old plastic tray here, so I can wipe it clean or not, whatever. Get them in the dollar store. Now I'm going to keep rolling because now I've got glue. You've got to have glue on the end of this. The sealant, this vibrance, is not going to be what holds your bead together. It's simply what seals it. You've got to hold your bead together with some sort of glue. So just, you know, roll it pretty good and get that down. Okay, now I'm going to slide it off the awl. That one's not too bad. You know, it's a little bit uneven at the ends, but see, I can still adjust it up. See, I'm adjusting it up a little bit. So it's pretty good. That's a pretty good looking bead. Okay. So what I would do then is when I get enough of these beads made, I would string them on a piece of cord. Well, I'll show you some that I've done. Just string them on a piece of cord like this. This is some soft flex, okay? You can see how these are very, very coarse and uneven, but I am going to do great things with these beads. I don't care that they're like that. I can deal with it. I can trim them with my Tim Holtz scissors, which are very, very sharp, or I can use bindings over them. The only thing is if the little tail at the end is coming off, you're going to have to trim that. You can't leave that, but you know, these are fine. Now Janice Mays are very, very perfect and wonderful, and if that's the look that you want, then that's what you should strive for. And I do believe it has a lot to do with cutting the template or cutting the paper very, very evenly, which I tend to do freehand and not so evenly. But anyway, these are some that have been dipped in vibrance, I believe, twice. They're not quite as shiny as I'd like. But maybe I kind of want a little bit of a matte finish. You don't have to dip them 3 times. She recommends that, but you don't have to. Now here's a strand that has been dipped 3 times, and maybe you can see the difference. See, I've got a little tail hanging off there, so I'm going to want to take and cut that off. But maybe I'll just do that. I'll show you how simple. Okay. So, anyway, and then you sometimes get a little bit of the medium will gunk up in between the beads, but it's just no big deal. You just pull it apart, as I'm doing. But these have a nice gloss. I don't know if you can get in there, Rob, and see really good. They have a really nice gloss, and they're ready to be used. That one came out really good. But you see, I'm the idea girl. I'm just learning, and we're going to see where we take this. I just think there's just remarkable possibilities. There's so many papers out there now. And Janice May, she does some awesome things with them too, so I might get that link for you later so you can check and see what she does. And that might get you some ideas as well. But anyway, going back to, you know, how you dunk it, I'm just going to cut a little piece of this cord off and show you a dunk. Now, she says on her website, like if you have a whole great big string of them, like, you know, this, or this, you know, the thing to do is take and put the vibrance down in a cup and dunk them, and then shake it off. And then I've made like a little makeshift drying rack here, although it might be good to hang them from a hanger, or if it's decent weather outside, take them outside and hang them on clothesline or out of a tree or something, I don't know. But this would work, you know, for them to dry. So I just made a little wire across one of these little plastic hoppers. Looks kind of nasty, but hey, it worked. To dry it. But anyway, just to show you how to put the vibrance on the bead. So now I'm going to put this in. She recommends like fishing line. This is cheaper. You know, it probably wouldn't want to use your good soft flex beading cord, but that's what was here, so that's what I did. Okay, so you could dunk it in the cup, but since I just have one bead here, just a few I'm going to do, I found this little funky technique of using like a Brummel and Brown, you know, a butter tub cup thing. And I just pour a little bit in there. Now that's way too much for one bead. That's going to end up getting wasted. But for the sake of, you know, demonstrating to you. Now see, there's a little bubble in there. I can get rid of that. See, it kind of wants to act a little bit like diamond glaze, actually. We just won't use that part. So now I'm going to get, you know, if you have a bunch of strings of beads, see how this would just roll right down along in the lip of that? So I'm going to coat that. Now see how the appearance of it changes? It gets very milky. Now that'll dry pretty clear, you know, but you want to shake that off. And now I'm going to take it over and stick it on my little drying rack. Now normally, like I say, I'd have a whole strand of them. I'm not going to do them one at a time. That would be kind of foolish, but you know, just for the sake of showing you. So now that'll hang there like that. Now if I had a whole strand of them, you know, like I say, I'd put it across or something. You know, you don't have to worry about it too much. You know, it can hang anywhere. I could like put some nails in the end of this work table top and hang it off that, and that'd be okay. The only thing is if you had drips, they'd go on the floor, but you could put newspaper down or something and catch them. So big whoop, you know, that works too. Now this is the other implement. And I probably took that apart too fast for you to be able to see. This is the other implement that comes with the kit. You have options with this kit. You can do it with the awl, which is this again, or you can do it with this bamboo roller. And I believe this is what the ladies in the Philippines use. They like this, and they even ornament it. When it comes the kit, you're going to get a pretty little ornament on there. But what this does is bamboo, and it slips apart. You can say, well, now what do I do? Well, I'm going to show you. I'm going to take a piece of this Tim Holtz Glazing paper, and I'm going to do the same thing that I did. Now this paper has a different consistency, and that's what you're going to notice when you go to curl your paper. Some papers curl real fast, and some don't. And it just has to do with the paper, and that's why experimentation is a good thing and fun. But anyway, I'm just going to roll this really quick and show you. Now, you start it, and starting it sometimes is a little tough because the bamboo is not perfectly round. But I start it, and now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take and slide this down here. You can see you got a little hole there. And you slide this piece down in there and this one down, and now it's stuck together, okay, with your bead. So now you got it all stuck together, and you got this cute little thing, little apparatus for you to be winding your bead. Okay, so I'm going to wind my bead. Wind, 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 wind. And then when I get about this far, okay, here we come with the glue stick again. The Yoo-hoo stick is probably better. I don't know if we carry them anymore. We did for a while, and then we kind of got away from the paper stuff, so maybe we will be doing more paper stuff in the future, because I'm really, really getting into this mixed media stuff. So many of you like it. Okay, so now I've got that all glued down good. Okay, so now what do? Well, I just pull it apart. Slide my bead off, and there I am with my Glazing paper bead. And since I've still got stuff down in here, I wouldn't use the bamboo thing to get that down in the stuff. Let me put this back together. But maybe I could take an awl and poke it around, or another stick or something. Okay, so now you got glurp on there, Brenda. What are you going to do? Well, I'm just going to take it in here and set it up on its side instead of stringing it, and that'll be good enough. That'll get it. Okay, so I'm going to show you now some pieces that I made and stuff I did with them to kind of get you going with more ideas. All right, these are beads that I made from mulberry paper. And I actually dunked these 4 times because they're very, very porous, and they soaked up a lot of the vibrance. So the more porous your paper is, or if you did fabric beads, it would suck up a lot of this vibrance, okay? But these are really pretty, and I love this color. Here are some paper beads that I did that I put really a lot of the vibrance on. You can see how glossy they are. But they, again, are very different from Janice May's, which are very ovoid, and mine are kind of big on the end. And it might be because I just use a plain bamboo stick on some of them to roll them. You can use a lot of different things to roll them. Here is some more felt, not felt, mulberry paper. It looks like felt. And if you were not to seal it, it totally looks like felt. And this stuff will darken, the mulberry paper. I think we still sell some on the website. I know there's some out there in the drawer. What I did, here's a big mulberry paper bead that I made. Now I embellished this bead. Let me stick it on the L so I can kind of really... Can you imagine that as a side station? Actually, I took my soft flex wire and just wrapped it all around here. And I included some of these bead soup heavy metal beads, which we have coming in, I think, next week. Also, I have the antique zinc ones come in metal elements. They're coming in, along with a bunch of other little seed beads. I always said, I don't want to do seed beads, but you know what? For embellishment purposes, you just can't beat a nice mix of little seed beads. So that's really cool, what I did with that. Now, here's one that's on, oops, an eye pin. These are our 4-inch brass oxide pins that we carry at this site. I love these because they just wrap so nicely. We'll see what I did. I took and I put some of my heavy metal mix on here, and then I put a few of the text style beads that I made, paper beads, and then I put some of the heavy metal mix, and then I did the copper binding wire and did the bound beads type thing, which I demonstrated quite some time ago, and made a long side station that way. So you can see where my mind is going with this. And just to demonstrate that to you really quickly, I'm going to take a few beads and try and make a bound type bead so that you can see how you can do it, okay? As I think we've got plenty of time for that. This actually needs to be trimmed, this one. But I like this one, so I'm going to... You know, if you trim this and it closes the back of the bead, no big deal. Just poke something through it and it'll come right open for you again. Now this would be really nice too if I had some bead caps with it, you know. But just for lack of time, we're going to make up for that with the copper wire, I think. That's what we'll do. So I've got to do this kind of quickly because we can't be on here. I think they're letting us go 20 minutes now, which is really generous, but you are probably getting excited about this and saying, well, Bisu, I don't want to sit here with you 20 minutes. I want to go try and make beads. So we'll have to make sure that happens for you. Now I'm going to turn this over. No, I did it the wrong way. You know, it never fails. You try to do something on camera, something you've done a bazillion times, and you know, this is not a good wire wrap. If you want to see a really good way to wire wrap, get Kate McKinnon's new book, The Jewelry Architect. I reviewed that on my blog. You can see that. I'm going to nip this. I reviewed it on my blog. It comes with a DVD, and the DVD... See, that was not good workshop behavior because it went flying. You probably heard it. You know, you should snip it down to the floor or into a basket. So don't do that. Anyway, but she shows you a really great way to get a good, even professional wrap every time. And you should really go and review what she has done because it's right. Okay, so I'm going to take my copper binding wire and go in the middle. And I'm just going to random wrap this thing this way. And I'm going to come back around to the middle. And I have this sticking up in the middle. Now I'm going to go the other way. And I'm doing this quick, guys. And you know, if you really like this technique, you want to see more about it, it's a favorite of mine. And I could do a whole video on it. You know, just say that you want to see more. And we'll see if we can't make that happen. Okay, so now I've got it in the middle. And I'm going to twist it. I'm going to have to go very gentle with this because if I don't, it'll snap before I want it to, and then I'm going to have a rough edge that I'm not, you know, ready to deal with. Okay, so I'm going to cut that off there just for lack of time. If I was doing this myself, you know, for a project, I would spend more time with this. and really make it fancy and probably put more beads on it and all kinds of things. Now I'm twirling it, as you've seen me do many times. Okay, I'm making a little twirl there to kind of finish it off. Now what I'm going to do is take my flat nose pliers and kind of clamp down on it so I'm sure I don't have anything sticking out to catch on clothes or people and scratch them. But basically there I've done a bound bead for you. Okay, so one last thing that I want to show you. One last thing I want to show you is polymer clay beads with vibrance on them. This is what you get. You know, these are things that I've made. They're kind of the organic look, but this is how they look when you put vibrance on them. If you look at the back, you can see this is just the shine from the baking sheet. But the shine that you get on vibrance, this is another use for this, is over polymer clay beads. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Look at that. Beautiful finish. So get some and give it a try. If you're a polymer clay artist, try this. Paper bead artist, try this. You're going to love it. And we'll catch up with you later on the blog with more of what I've done.